Hello children, now let us do the last part of the story A Gorilla in the Guest Room written by Gerald Durrell. By now, through lack of food and drink, Pongo was in a very bad way. Jeremy had managed to persuade him to drink a little skimmed milk by the subterfuge of rubbing a disprin on his gums. Now, subterfuge means a secret or a dishonest way of behaving. So, he had managed to get Pongo to drink a little skimmed milk, that is a very light kind of milk having very little fat in it, by rubbing some disprin on his gums. The disprin, of course, dissolved rapidly, and the taste not being to his liking, Pongo was only too happy to take a couple of gulps of the milk to wash down his mouth. So naturally, when he had the disprin, it was not tasty. So in order to wash away that taste of the disprin, he took a few gulps of the milk to wash the disprin down his mouth. One by one, we presented him with the things we had obtained in the market, and one by one, he viewed them with an apathetic glance. Apathetic means not having much interest in it. So he refused the hothouse grapes, the avocado pears, and the other delicacies. So they showed him one item after the other, but each of those Pongo literally ignored all the delicacies. Then we cut him a slice of watermelon, and for the first time he displayed signs of interest. He prodded the slice with his finger and leaned forward to smell it carefully. So he they cut a piece of watermelon, and for the first time he showed some interest in it. So he just touched the slice with his finger and tried to smell it very carefully. The next minute he had the slice in his hands. To our great delight, he started to eat. So finally he started to eat that piece of watermelon. But we did not become too jubilant, for we knew that the watermelon contained practically no nutriment. So they did not become very happy. Jubilant means happy, because watermelon does not have as such any minerals, nutriment over here, minerals. But at least it had aroused in him the interest in food again. The next thing was to try to administer an antibiotic, as by now the expert consensus was that he was suffering from a form of colitis. So now their next attempt was that they should try to give him an antibiotic, because they had reached a consensus. Now consensus means an opinion to which all the members agree that he was suffering from some kind of colitis, in which it is a disease which causes pain and swelling in the colon. Since he still refused to take any quantity of liquid in which we could mix medicines, there was only one way to get the antibiotic into him, and that was by injection. So because he was not taking any liquid, any milk or anything, so they could not, if he were taking liquid, they could easily mix the antibiotic in the liquid and give him. So now they were only left with one option, and that was to give him the antibiotic through an injection. We enticed Pongo out of his cage and kept Nandi shut up. He would be sufficiently difficult to deal with in spite of his emaciated condition, without having any assistance from his by now extremely powerful wife. So here entice means we try to coax him out of the cage. They got Pongo out of the cage and they kept Nandi inside. Although it would be difficult for them to deal with Pongo, because although he was emaciated means too thin and weak because of the illness, but still it would be, if they got Nandi also outside, it would be very difficult to deal with both of them, because by now Nandi had become very strong. He spotted on the floor of the mammal house, staring about with dull sunken eyes. Jeremy squatted on one side of him with a supply of watermelon to try to maintain his interest, while I on the other side hastily prepared the syringe for the injection. So this is how they managed to give the injection of the antibiotic to him. He was squatting, sitting on all four on the floor of the mammal house. On one side Jeremy sat with a piece of watermelon, and on the other side Gerald sat with a syringe of the injection for him. Pongo watched my preparations with a mild interest and once put out his hand gently to try to touch the syringe. When I was ready, Jeremy endeavored to distract his attention with pieces of melon, and as soon as his head was turned away from me, I pushed the needle into his thigh and pressed the plunger home. So this is how they managed to give him the first injection of the antibiotic. He prepared the syringe and he looked at them with little interest and tried to touch the syringe, and then Jeremy endeavored, that is, he tried to do something difficult and tried to distract his attention by showing him the pieces of melon. And as soon as Pongo looked the other side, Gerald, he pushed the needle into his thigh and then moved down the antibiotic into his body. That is how they managed to give him the first injection. Pongo gave no sign of having even noticed this. He followed us obediently back into the cage and with a small piece of watermelon retired to his shelf where he curled up on his side, his arms folded and stared at the wall. So after the injection, he didn't even show that he even noticed it, and then quietly he followed them back with a piece of watermelon into his cage and curled up on his side, his arms folded and staring at the wall. The following morning, he showed very slight signs of improvement, and using the same subterfuge, we managed to give him another injection. So, next morning, there was hardly any improvement in him, but they also gave him a second dose of the antibiotic. For the rest of the day, there seemed no change in him, and although he ate some of the melon and drank a little skimmed milk, he did not show any radical signs of progress. So the rest of the day he hardly showed any changes. He was just the same. He just had a little skimmed milk. I was now in a quandary. Quandary means in a dilemma. In 24 hours, I was due to leave for France. There I had organized and stirred up a bee's nest of helpers and advisors. So now he's in a dilemma because within 24 hours he had to leave for France, and over there he's organized a sort of a bee's nest, that is a large number of helpers and advisors. The BBC were also under the impression that the trip was a foregone conclusion. If I put it off at this juncture means an important point, I would have put a tremendous amount of people to a lot of trouble for nothing, and yet I felt I could not leave Pongo unless I was satisfied that he was either on the mend or beyond salvation. Salvation means out of their power to be saved. So he just felt that he could not just leave everything and go away at this juncture. Now, if he refused to go, then he would be putting many large number of people in trouble for going through a lot of trouble without any reason. And at the same time, he could not leave Pongo in this situation until he was satisfied that he is on the mend. On the mend means he is improving, his health is improving, or he is beyond their control. He cannot be saved. Then the day before I was due to leave, he suddenly turned the corner. Suddenly turned the corner means his situation improved. He started drinking his Complan, a highly concentrated form of dried milk, and eating a variety of fruits. So this is the sudden dramatic change that takes place. He started drinking his Complan, which was a concentrated form of dried milk, and he started eating fruits. By the evening that day, he showed considerable signs of improvement and had eaten quite a bit of food. So by the end of that day, he had eaten quite a bit of food. The next morning, I went down very early to look at him, for I was due to catch my plane to Dinars at 8:30. He was sitting up on the shelf, and although he still looked emaciated, very weak and unwell, his eyes had sparkle that had been lacking for the past few days. So next morning he meant to meet him at 8:30 because he was going to leave, and he saw that Pongo appeared to be much better. He was, although he was weak, but that sparkle had returned in his eyes. He ate quite well and drank his Complan. I felt that he was at last on the road to recovery. I drove down to the airport and caught the plane to Dinard, and we motored down to the south of France. It cost a small fortune in long distance call to Jersey to keep myself appraised of Pongo's progress. So finally he went to France, and he used to make long distance call to Jersey to find out his situation, Pongo's, but he did not mind spending that money. But every time I telephoned, the reports got better, and when Jeremy informed me that Pongo had drunk 1 pint of Complan and eaten 3 slices of watermelon, 2 bananas, 1 apricot, 3 apples, and the whites of 8 eggs, I knew there was no further cause for alarm. And so the day when Jeremy informed Gerald that Pongo had eaten quite a bit of these fruits and eggs and milk, then he realized it was no point to worry about him. He's going to be fine. By the time I returned from France, Pongo had put on all the weight that he had lost, and when I went into the mammal house, there he was to greet me. His old self, massive, black, and rotund, and his eyes glittering mischievously as he tried to inveigle me close enough to the wire so that he could pull the buttons of my coat. So, inveigle over here means to achieve control over something in a clever manner. This word, inveigle. So, when he returned from France, Pongo was the same. He gained the weight, he was rounded, fat with a rounded body, massive, black eyes shining mischievously as he tried to open the buttons of his coat. I reflected as I watched him rolling in his back and clapping his hands in an effort to attract my attention that though it was delightful to have creatures like this and of vital importance that they should be kept and bred in captivity, it was a two-edged sword, for the anxiety you suffered when they became ill made you wonder why you started the whole thing in the first place. So when he was just reflecting, he was just thinking that when he looked at Pongo rolling his back, clapping his hands in order to catch his attention, that it is so full of joy to have creatures like this at home. And it is also very important because they should be kept in captivity and made to produce their own kind so that they do not become extinct. But it is a two-edged sword, because if you are enjoying their company, if you are breeding them in captivity, it gives you joy, but at the same time you go through a lot of tension when they fall sick. So then you start wondering, was it worth it from right from the beginning to do all this? I hope the story is clear to you. Thank you.